We are two first-generation college graduates that managed to pay off more than $100,000 in student loans thanks to our investment in real estate. In this video, we will share how we even came up with this idea and how we got started with our first property. Hi, my name is Manny.
Hi, I'm Barbara, and this is our channel. We are two first-generation graduates that are here to talk to you about all the tools and tricks we learned to develop our mental toughness and financial security,
as well as las ganas to continue pursuing our goals, also known as motivation.
All right, so let's get started. Let's set the stage first. Manny and I had just graduated college. We were super excited at the time because we had just landed our first jobs. We were getting steady income coming in. Manny was, making about 35,000. I was making about 40. I mean, collectively, we were doing pretty good. So we were super excited making plans. Let's buy our first house. Let's get a new car, right? Those normal goals that most people get when, they start working on when they graduate college and they get their first job. So one day we both got a letter and it basically stated something like, your student loans are close to coming to repayment. When we saw that monthly payment, we were like, no way. That monthly payment was so big. There was no way we could make plans or save money for a house or even think about getting a new car. Our checks were going to go straight to rent and student loans. But one day, Manny was talking to one of his coworkers. You want to tell him?
Yeah. So a big shout out to Eric Estrada. No, not the actor, although, I mean, he's cool too. But my friend Eric from my first job that I ever had, I think I was an intern at the time. We used to always go eat caldo and have cafecito and what have you. And he would explain to me in one of those conversations how his parents lived off of their real estate investments. And they actually managed the properties that they owned. And I started doing some quick math in my head and I was like, yo, man, if they have that many properties, they're probably doing pretty well for themselves. And so that's when that light bulb went off in my head. And I said, wow, that is how we're going to get out of this debt. And so we had to decide to make a big sacrifice, both Barbara and I, that we were going to forego any immediate gratification of buying our first starter home or getting a new car and try first to get out of debt and maybe reach financial independence or financial security. And so I was like 110% committed and I would just keep bugging Eric and he got tired of talking about the subject that he said, okay, Manny, why don't we do this? Why don't you and Barbara and your two dogs move into our house because with his family, and the time that you're in my home, you won't necessarily pay rent. And so you'll save up the down payment that you need to be able to buy your first investment property, your first rental property. And I was like, man, that's really cool of him to do. He also added that while you're at my house, I can teach you everything that it takes, all the math behind investing in real estate. I can teach you about different loans associated with this real estate. I can teach you how to look and scour across San Antonio, Texas, that's where we're at, to try to find the real estate investment property. And so I thought this was a great deal and an awesome opportunity for someone to offer. And so we took it. And we took a leap of faith and we said, chale, arre, let's go. And so we packed all our stuff up and we moved into Eric's home.
So as part of the process, we had to make a decision. We had to get a loan. The loan that was super popular at the time was the FHA loan, and it was very popular for first-time home buyers. So that was perfect for us. The reason why is because it was a very low down payment. It was 3.5% down, which meant if you were to buy a property for $100,000, you would only have to put down $3,500. So that was definitely doable for us to save. The second piece that I really liked about this loan is the fact that our payments were going to be spread across 30 years. So relatively smaller payments versus getting a 20-year. The third piece that we really, really liked is that you could get a property up to 4 units.
What that basically meant is we could move into 1 unit and have 3 tenants. And so the idea was that you needed to at least live in that property for a year before you moved on to, let's say, another property. So yeah, when we met Eric and he kind of explained all of this and we were spending a lot of nights excited about this whole prospect of getting an investment property, we came to learn all this stuff and more.
We were so committed that I even got my real estate license. So like Manny mentioned earlier, we lived in 1 unit and the other 3, our tenants lived there. Huge mistake. They knew we were the owners. They came knocking at our door whenever we were there at their disposal. Anything that happened, they would just come knocking and expect us to fix it right away. We didn't have any privacy at all. One of our tenants, he was a DJ, so you could hear him playing music in the middle of the night. We had a grumpy old man that was just mad at everything in life for no reason. And the other one, what was the other one?
He had a little dog that would bark in the middle of the night. When he heard our dogs, there was rats running around, and whenever the dogs would hear them, they would start barking like crazy. So we put mouse traps, and we would hear them go off at night, cluck, 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 cluck. So needless to say, it was a nightmare.
Yes, it was a nightmare. I cried for the first 2 months.
Like I said, it was an old building. I think it was built in 1920, 1940. You can literally put a basketball on the floor and it would roll to one side of the house because the foundation was that bad. So although all of these challenging things were before us and we're thinking, what did we get ourselves into? The real aha or payoff of like, oh my God, this is a thing we could do really hit us was when the first week of the following month came about. And in that week, we got the checks. We picked up the checks from everyone else, and we understood how much we needed to pay for our principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, so our monthly payments. And we noticed that at the end of every month, we can expect, like clockwork, assuming that everyone paid on time, anywhere between $400 to $600 of profit, okay? This is not counting the fact that we weren't paying rent, but we were actually walking away with money in our pockets at the end of the month. So when that happened, I was like, oh no, Barbara, we gotta figure out how to keep doing this. That's when it really took a turn for us, and we're like, wow, this could be a thing we could be really, really into.
So having said that and learned the benefit of living in a property and making money every month, we started accepting the fact that we were going to do this again and probably again and again and again. So through that whole year that we lived there, we learned so much. We learned through YouTube videos, through Googling how to lay tile, grout it, switch out toilets, tile an entire bathroom, demolishing and just rebuilding from scratch. We started having so much fun doing all of that and learning so much, and we started getting new tools. It was just a different environment for us. We were really, really invested.
Needless to say, we were growing in a different way. I mean, we weren't dancing salsa as much or going out as much, but we enjoyed the fact that we were learning all these handy skills, right, on how to use this home. And we had a goal in mind, which once again was to pay off those $100,000 in student debt. And so it became a challenge that we were willing to take on. We're learning how to lay tile, we're learning how to do plumbing. But I became super obsessed with trying to find the next property. So mind you, Barbara has her real estate license. I'm looking at Zillow, Trillia, MLS. I'm starting to develop these Excel sheets that help me quickly plug in some numbers, make some assumptions, and it would spit out, hey, what's my return on investment? What's my cash on cash return? I started learning all this terminology around investing that I didn't have before. And so it made it so much easier for me to say, that's a good deal, that's a bad deal, this is how much money we're going to make, so on and so forth.
Yeah. And also part of that is we were getting really good at looking at a property and saying, we can work on this, or this might have too many issues, but you learn by doing.
We did learn by doing, right? It wasn't just like standing behind an Excel sheet or just looking at Zillow. The great thing is that Barbara had her license, and so we would actually visit the properties as if we had the cash in hand and figure out what it would look like and what we would need and how much we could ask for rents and what have you. So we became super invested in the skills at hand, and to some extent didn't worry so much about the $100,000 in debt. We started realizing, okay, that's the goal, but I don't want to feel overwhelmed by it right now. And I let myself kind of enjoy the process, and so did Barbara. So now it just became a part of who we were. We were real estate investors, right? She was a licensed agent. Now I'm a licensed agent at this point, but it became really neat to see how the process changed us for the better.
So the crazy thing about all of this is that Manny and I grew up very similar. We didn't really have a stable home that you would say we would call it home. We were constantly moving, living with different people sometimes. So by us getting into real estate and when we invested in these properties, we literally put ourselves into it. because whatever unit we were living in, we made it our own. We made it our home.
Yeah, that's probably something unique about how we went about it. So the unit we lived in, we did pick out tile that we wanted, right? We picked out the color of the walls. Even though we might sell it in 2 to 3 years, we wanted to feel comfortable with the place that we were calling home, okay? And so that is something uniquely ours as you know, growing up, you know, somewhat under resourced, and the fact that we're first gen. I mean, we were kind of navigating this investment world, you know, kind of on our own. There are also other ways that weren't quite as obvious in how we were growing as individuals. Some of those new skills or understandings of the world were one that we could commit to something 100% and some pretty awesome things can happen. Second, it taught us how to cherish financial freedom over material possessions today, right? It also taught us how to wait for, you know, the big shiny car or the house, or even figure out whether that was something we cherish more than the ability to be able to go out to eat whenever we want and not really question whether we had money in the bank. And lastly, which I thought was super cool, was that I wasn't ever really good at math in, you know, high school and even college, but when you started putting numbers in front of me and it had to do with investing, I was like, oh my God, like this kind of math clicks because it's tangible. I can touch it. I can do the math around it, you know, and started teaching Barbara about it. That we even picked up a second bachelor's in finance to help us bolster our understanding in real estate investments.
So hopefully this will motivate you or give you ideas on how you can start making moves to build your financial security.
We want to continue delivering this kind of content, and we're really excited to learn more about Skillshare. And that probably will be a platform or a different platform. I may share some of my tools, like maybe no kidding the spreadsheets, and maybe put together a little project for you to do some high level assessments of real estate investments. And if that's of interest to you, you know, comment below or like this video, and I'll make sure at some point to put out there, hey, this is the link where you can see this, this particular in-depth lesson on how we look at real estate investment properties.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe below, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.